Hello everyone, I am Zara Gagatiga. I'm a teacher librarian, author, storyteller, and blogger. I blog at http://lovealibrarian.blogspot.com. There it is. I'm also on social media. I have a Facebook page at author ZarahG815, on Instagram at Sarah815, on Twitter at The Coffee Goddess. You will find news about my new books and the activities I do as an author in my social media accounts. And on my blog, you will find there my writing, my experiences as a storyteller, the work that I do as a school librarian, and news and updates about books, literacy, reading, children's literature in the country and in abroad. And so today I am glad to share with you a story about hope and healing. I am going to share it through storytelling. And I have taken that story from the anthology, Hope, Where Are You? Written by Armand Doucet and Elisa Guerra. There are pictures in the anthology, and these pictures were illustrated by Anna Rogo. The anthology is a self-published book published last April 2020 in the midst of COVID-19. The stories in Hope, Where Are You? Are stories of children who are living through the lockdown, living through quarantine, and experiencing COVID-19 the way you and I do. And so I begin my session with you, storytelling for hope and healing. I would like to remind everyone that stories can heal us. Stories can give us hope. And even if your teachers are using stories to teach you skills like reading, comprehension, critical thinking skills, and creative thinking skills, stories can also be used to widen our worldview and to make us wonder, to give us that sense of wonder. Stories are windows. Stories are doors. Stories are mirrors. Stories are windows because when we look out the window, we see a view, not our own, but other views. Stories are doors because it is an opportunity for us to see and venture out into the world. Stories invite us to go out of our comfort zone, to play with characters we only meet in the pages of a book, to wonder and ask questions, to play and imagine and wonder. These are all opportunities that stories provide us. That's why they are like doors that opens up to another world that we can explore. And lastly, stories are mirrors. In mirrors, we see ourselves. And in stories, we see ourselves in the pages of a book, in the characters that we love, just like Harry Potter, or maybe the Hobbit, Bilbo, or Frodo Baggins. Stories are mirrors because they show us the reality of life told by another character. And when we see ourselves in the pages of a book, then we feel we are not alone. And so today, my dear listeners, I am inviting you in this experience of stories and storytelling. Let us always remember that when we engage in stories, it will heal us. It will give us hope. Stories are windows, stories are doors, stories are mirrors. For our first activity, before we begin the storytelling, we're going to map our heart. Our heart mapping activity is one way of figuring ourselves against the physical world in the journey and in the way we traverse the everyday. We need simple materials that we have at home, like paper of different colors, a pair of scissors like what you see in the picture, colored pens, your imagination, and an awareness of your feelings. This is easy to do. In fact, I often do this. Here are the instructions. Draw a large heart shape on a piece of paper, or you can go digital. You can choose a photo collage app or a collage maker app that you have in your smartphone. And there, you can draw a heart and create your heart map. But if you choose to work with your hands, you can make a heart map using pen, paper, crayons, and a pair of scissors. So for the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes, let's make a heart map. So that's the first step. Get a piece of paper and draw a large heart shape on that piece of paper. And inside the heart, draw what you feel, draw what you think, use symbols and images, and stay in the now. What do you feel at the moment? This heart map is something that I made a while ago. And at that moment, I felt happy. Why? Because of the musical notes. Every time I hear my children play their musical instruments, every time I hear them singing, I am glad. When I made this heart map, I also felt warm because I remember drawing this the day after the typhoon. And you know what? I saw the sun shining and it warmed my spirits. That's why when I sat down to draw my heart map, I drew the sun. And then at the center of my heart, or my heart map, is an open book. And out of that open book burst out plants and flowers and butterflies. It's because I have been reading a book about fantastic creatures who can grow trees and forests with spells with every breath, and they make the world a beautiful place. Oh, I have not reached that part where the villain is wreaking havoc or causing confusion and mayhem. But I feel happy reading this adventure story, and I hope that you can find a good book to read as well during this time of the pandemic. And so that is my heart map. I have not drawn a heart map since Monday. Maybe after this, I will draw my heart map once again. And so, my dear listeners, I encourage you to do something like this. How do you feel today? What's your idea about the world around you right now? What are you imagining? What are you dreaming? Draw them in your heart. Make a heart map. And once you have made your heart map, you think of symbols and images that represents your feelings, your ideas, and your questions around the world or around you. Cut your heart map and paste it on a piece of paper, just like the picture that you see on the screen. And so that's my heart map last Monday, which I plan to collect and give out at Christmas time. And sometimes, if you don't like to give it out to people you care for, your family members, your friends, or your loved ones, you can keep it in a scrapbook as a memory of your days during quarantine. Also, keeping a heart map will also help you remember of the happy times you spent during the time of COVID-19. So I encourage you to do this very often, as regularly as possible, and just be in the moment. What you feel, what you think, what are your questions? What do you wonder about? What are your worries? And though you feel sad or confused or fearful, you can write them. You can draw them on your heart map. And so you can Give yourself a few minutes to make this heart map. And once you're done, you can share it with your family. Now, here's another extension activity of the heart map. You can talk about your heart map with a friend, a sibling, or a family member. What's more, you can share it with your school librarian during this week that you're celebrating National Book Week, because that in itself is a story that you can share with others. And perhaps your school librarians can set up an online viewing of everybody's heart map. And then we can get to see what others feel, what others think, what others are imagining in this time of COVID-19. And then we will recognize that there's something common that we share. So that's our first activity, our priming activity. We need to be aware of our feelings, and one way to be aware of our feelings is to make a heart map so that we can always find what is good and what is beautiful in the everyday, especially in this time of the pandemic. And so let me begin with the story for today. Hope, Where Are You? By Armand Doucet and Elisa Guerra, illustrated by Anna Rogu. There are several stories in the anthology, and they are stories of children just like you who experienced lockdown and quarantine. These children live from different parts of the world, and I suppose even adults like myself would feel fearful, worried, anxious, sad, lonely, not just happy or grateful, but also feelings that make us feel uncomfortable. And Armand Doucet and Elisa Guerra as writers, they've captured the stories of these young children. I have chosen one story of a child. Her name is Kate, and she lives in North America. Now, Kate probably lives in Canada or in the US or in Mexico, and she is learning from home. Just like you, Kate is doing distance learning or remote learning. So let's find out what is Kate's experience and if she has a similarity to your own story during the lockdown. Kate from North America. My brothers are doing homework. Mom is teaching her high school classes. Everybody is staring at screens. I'm bored, bored, bored. I try to follow my classes on the computer. Oh, it's hard. I miss playing outside with my friends and I miss dancing. It feels like my skin is crawling and I'm antsy. I wish time could go faster. Maybe I can speed it up. If I can, run really fast. Whoops! I disturbed everyone again. Just stop moving, screams Mikey. And not again, yells Peter. Oh no, my dear listeners. What's happening to Kate? Mikey and Peter are brothers of Kate. And look at Mom. Look at the illustrations. Oh no, Mom's laptop. It's about to fall. Will Mom be able to catch it? Who do you think is to blame? Look at these two wiggles under the chair, if they're called wiggles at all. I'm just curious because sometimes the illustrations tell us stories too, right? I hope this isn't the coronavirus. Now look at Kate. She looks worried, right? Look at her face. I'm getting on everybody's nerves. I'm not myself. Kate, could you try to read quietly for a while? I sit still for 2 minutes and my legs start twitching. I'm ready to burst out. I'm going to get in trouble again. All of a sudden, the phone rings. I run and answer it. It's Mrs. Robinson, who inquires, "How are you, Kate?" I sneak underneath the table. With tears welling in my eyes, I whisper, "I'm being bad. I can't sit still." And Mrs. Robinson reminds me that at school, we use yoga to calm down in the morning. Aha! Mrs. Robinson is Kate's teacher. And what does Kate teach? And what does Mrs. Robinson teach Kate? Well, one of them is yoga exercises, or yoga techniques to calm down in the morning. She suggests that I practice when waking up and promises to send her videos to mom. So Mrs. Robinson, she was there to help Kate. Kate is so hyperactive. Will yoga be of help to Kate? Will Mrs. Robinson reaching out to Kate be able to help her out? A week later, I'm leading my family through Mrs. Robinson's yoga. Hooray! I'm finishing with a tree pose. I'm really good at this. Even my brothers can see it. Thank you, Kate, Mom says. What a wonderful way to start the day. I feel helpful. I feel wanted. I feel like myself. Finding that warm and fuzzy feeling keeps me calm and focused all day. And so we see in this picture, in this illustration, Kate making a tree pose along with mom and her two brothers. And who is that? Oh no, if that's the coronavirus, they have to disinfect. And the cat is also doing some stretching. And so for 5 seconds, let's do some breathing exercises, just like Kate practicing yoga. Breathing exercises is where everything begins to calm down ourselves. So everyone, let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And slowly exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale and slowly exhale. And open your eyes and feel good. Stretch a bit. Hands forward and up to the sides and back. There's a good stretch. Okay? So we've encountered a story about Kate who, like you, is learning from home, studying online. Classes are all conducted over the internet. And she's hyperactive that it causes trouble at home. She disturbs her mom and even her brothers, and she felt bad about it. But here comes Mrs. Robinson reminding her to do yoga. And that is the solution to her problem. And it worked. Even her family started practicing yoga. Thank you to the videos that Mrs. Robinson gave Kate and her mom. So going back to our activity, let's have activities so we can further understand Kate and ourselves. As I said, stories are mirrors, stories are windows, stories are doors. Stories allow us to understand who we are and at the same time, other people and the big wide world we live in. And so the first activity is for you to remember or recall Kate's story. Follow the beginning, middle, end framework by looking at the pictures above. Now get a piece of paper and write your summary of at least 3 to 5 sentences. I can give you maybe 5 minutes, or you can do this activity for 5 minutes. Just remember, recall the story following the beginning, middle, end. And so keep your pen and paper close. Keep your notepad or your pencil or your pen beside you because we have more activities to do. The next activity is to answer the following questions. How is Kate's story similar to yours? In this time of the pandemic, what are your experiences of boredom or any problem you encountered? And what has been a solution to that problem? What has been the most challenging experience you have had during the lockdown or the quarantine? Kate's teachers was able to help her manage her feelings through yoga. Who has been a big help to you in this time of the pandemic? Do you have a Mrs. Robinson, a teacher or teachers who helped you in one way or the other? What about your siblings? What about your friends? In a way, have they helped you survive the boredom, the anxiety, the worry, the exhaustion, or the tiring sense of just staying at home? What about your parents? Have they helped you in some way? Think about those questions. Write your answers on a pad paper or on your notebook. Remember that a question is a complete sentence, so you answer also in a complete sentence. So let's have 5 or 10 minutes to answer these questions. Okay, so when you're done, those questions and the answers you've written on your pad paper, those are for you. You don't need to share them with anyone else, but I would like you to read them by yourself silently. Your answers are yours. Your answers reflect who you are. And just like Kate, there are challenges that you and I go through in this time of the pandemic. So just like Kate, we're all the same in this time of the lockdown and the quarantine. But take heart because I'm sure, just like Kate, there's a person who reaches out to you to help you in one way or the other. And so after reflecting and seeing ourselves very similar to Kate, our protagonist in the story, we will not stop with reflection and recognizing insights we gain from the story. Let us thank that person who has helped us. I, for one thing, am thinking of friends who cheered me up in the time of quarantine. Let's express our gratitude to people who were kind to us, to people who helped us solve a problem, to people who reached out to us and made life during our lockdown experience more bearable, let's express our gratitude. It's not enough that we encounter and experience a story. It's not enough that we are aware of what's going on with ourselves when we read the story. Let's also do something about our reflections and our insights, especially if it's a good insight. So if you have identified a person who has helped you in this time of the quarantine, here are some suggestions or ideas or actions to do. Let's take action. Let's express our gratitude by praying over that person. Let us lift that person to God and ask for the grace of love and more blessings for that person. Maybe you can plant a tree in honor of that person. If you have a garden, or a pot with soil rich enough for a plant to grow. Or if you know how to bake a cake or have it delivered to your friend who has helped you during quarantine, text or call delivery and express your thanks or your gratitude by sending your friend a cake that you baked or you bought in a bakery that bakes yummy pastries, cookies, or baked goodies. Or maybe ask your mom or your siblings to pick a gift, a simple gift. Or maybe you can make one. Maybe an origami card, maybe a knitted bookmark, maybe a paper flower, maybe a cross-stitch photo. Wow! Give that person a gift as an expression of your gratitude. Or maybe because you were inspired by the goodness of another person, you can also reach out to the community and partake in community activities. Maybe by face masks made by those who lost their jobs. Maybe you can participate in donation and drives for clothes and relief goods for victims of the typhoon. And maybe your community or your church community is organizing such activities to help those who are suffering from the typhoon that has ravaged Camarines Sur. And another simple expression of gratitude is to simply say thank you to people who've helped you. Maybe write a note, send it over email, or send that person an electronic greeting card. So these are ideas that you can do to take action, just like Kate who was helped by Mrs. Robinson. It didn't say in the story whether Kate expressed gratitude, but that is ours to do now. Like what I said, stories are doors. It opens a door to an opportunity. Let Kate's story be an opportunity to express gratitude or to help out others. Now, the express your gratitude activity is something you can do asynchronously. You don't have to show it to me, to the school librarians in your school, or to your friend. Okay? It's your choice to do it. But I really hope that you do, because our storytelling session won't be complete without it. So I hope that the Spirit moves you to do something good to others through the story that you just heard. And before we end our storytelling session for hope and healing, this is now a follow-through activity. What is your COVID-19 story? We just encountered a story about Kate, who was so hyperactive she felt guilty disturbing everyone in the house. And it was Mrs. Robinson who helped her go back into yoga, which she did. And she inspired her siblings and her mom to join in so that everyone has a sense of balance at some point during the lockdown or the quarantine? That is Kate's story. But what about you? What is your COVID-19 story? Remember my heart map? I think I have it here. Ta-da! This is my heart map. And this is partly my COVID-19 story. And if you made your heart map, that's your COVID-19 story too. But this time around, let's try looking at our experience of joy, of sadness, of worry, of finding appreciation, affirmation, and happiness in COVID-19. What is your story? Think of a beginning, think of a middle, and think of an end. How did your story start? If it's a story of joy, if it's a story of sadness, what's the beginning? Was there a problem or a challenge? Write that in the middle. Was there a solution? Who helped you solve the problem? Who helped you overcome the challenge? That's the end. So follow the framework: beginning, middle, end. And in 3 to 5 sentences, you can write a short story. Or if you're feeling prosaic, you can allot 3 sentences for the beginning, 3 sentences for the middle, and 3 sentences for the end. And you can do this for 10 to 20 minutes. Now, once you have written down the beginning, the middle, and the end as your framework and structure for the story, put them all together and write your story in a Word document, handwritten in your notebook, and you can share it with your sibling, your family, even your teacher online, or your school librarians. And I encourage your school librarians to collect the students' COVID-19 story. And maybe, just like the heart map, you can create an online bulletin board where your stories can be read by the community. And of course, you can do this if you are willing enough to share your story. Okay? Now, I really hope that you'll be able to share your heart map, your story of COVID-19 experience, so that just like Kate's story as told by Armand Doucet and Eliza Guerra, we get to realize that our experiences during the pandemic is common to all. We feel sad, we feel worried, we feel joy, we feel happy. There are things that happen that we didn't like to happen, and it makes us feel uncomfortable. And maybe it will take a while for us to overcome them. But one way to express our stories or these feelings is through writing our story. After all, we are living in abnormal times. So all these feelings of confusion and sadness and joy is expected. But I hope that you're able to write your story so that we can see that we are in this together and that you and I are not alone. And so, my dear listeners, grade school students, teachers, and school librarians, thank you for your wonderful time. Thank you for your engagement. And I hope I get to read your COVID-19 story. Do remember that in this time of quarantine, we may be locked in, but we can be linked together through a shared story and through storytelling. So that's it. I will always pray for your safety, for your health, and do pray for mine. It's been a pleasure to join you online, and I hope when we see better days, I can visit your campus very, very soon. This is Zara Gagatiga wishing you all a happy day, God bless, and do take care of yourself, of others, and the world.